today we're going to be making some custom object boxes, and these are really good to know how to make because not only do they save you money, but they save you resources, because sometimes companies that usually sell object boxes don't have the size that you need for your specific object. So this is a really good skill to pick up on and a really good skill to know for archives or museum collections. So to do this, you are going to need some tools. You are going to need a measuring tape. I used a sewing measuring tape, but you can also use a ruler. You are going to need a ruler as well. You're going to need a bone folder or something that you can score with and fold with. And you're going to need a more heavy-duty X-Acto knife because the material that you're going to be using to make these boxes is going to be a lot more sturdy. So I'm going to do it on a very small scale first, so that we get the hang of it. And what we're going to be doing is I usually like to lay out my object in place to see how much space it's going to be taking up, and I will measure the width, and I will measure the length of that, and then I will measure how high that needs to be. We're going to take the measurements that we had and do an outline. So usually you like to make sure that you can go from the edge. So let's pretend that this is a 1-inch depth. So you go from the edge of your cardboard and you are going to measure that out. And then from there, you are also going to measure your other measurements of the length and the width. So let's say that's about 2. And that's about 3. I'm going to take my ruler. I'm just going to do these outlines. So we're just going to get the outline of the box first. And I'm going to cut off excess. Sometimes you have to go over it a couple times to make sure that you get through. So your outline should look relatively like this, where you have the depth going across here, and those are going to become your sides. And make sure that you keep these squares and that you don't cut them out because they're going to become your flaps, so that you can reinforce and keep the sides up. And then in the center is going to be your width and your length. So next we're going to take our tool that can score, and we're going to make sure that one side is scored, all of these interior sides are scored, and then one side is completely scored, and then we're going to cut little notches right here so that they can fold. And sometimes you have to go over it a couple times to make sure that it scores properly. And then it will fold. And you can fold the other side. and score the remaining interior sides as well. And then we're going to cut. So I have folded completely across here, the interiors on these sides, and I'm going to cut here so that they can overlap and fold. So, on a small scale, you will have these folding so that when you do go to fold up the remaining sides, you can fold this one in, this one up, and it will fold over like so. And you can do that for the other side as well. And it will create a very small box. So let's do that on a larger scale.
So here I'm going to be doing the exact same thing where I'm making sure that I measure out the depth on all sides and the length and the width on the interior so that we can fold later and it will form sides for our box and make sure that it fits and accommodates our object. Now that I have the full outline, I'm going to cut off any excess from the cardboard so that we can have just the outline of the box that we want. I had to go get a larger X-Acto knife because the last one just wasn't working. So when I said originally that you need a heavy-duty X-Acto knife, you really do need a heavy-duty X-Acto knife. So now we have the cutout of the box that we want, just like how it was in the small scale. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start folding and scoring and making sure that my notches are cut out on all 4 corners. So now that we've finished scoring and cutting out the proper areas of our box and everything folds over properly, we can go ahead and make a lid. So for the lid, we're going to be using the exact same method as we did for the base of the box, except we're going to make the depth of the lid shorter so that it doesn't completely overlap the base of the box. And we also want to make sure that we add a couple millimeters or even a centimeter to the length and the width so that it does overlap and accommodate for some of the pieces or the notches that were overlapped on the base of the box.
So thank you for joining me today and learning how to make custom object boxes. It's a really good skill to have for museum and archival collections for any objects that might be a strange shape that just might not fit in some of the pre-made boxes that companies sell. And they're really good for preserving your objects and making sure that they have their own homes and they have their own spaces for preservation and conservation needs.